Hello, welcome to 50 Minutes of Consulting Best Practices. Hello, David. It's nice to be back.
Hi, Marisabel. Welcome back. I'm so glad you're back. I'm sure everybody who joins us is glad you're back. They had enough of me.
Oh, that's very nice to hear. Thank you. And for all of you who are here and who've joined us live, you're welcome to put your comments in. We love hearing what you have to say in this interactive session. We love answering your questions live. And it takes us a minute to see what you're writing, so don't be shy. And we'll dive right into it. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I think everybody should say welcome back, Maria Isabel. But yeah, post your questions. And because you were away, I think you should get the first question, but we'll see what happens. And our honorary Deidre is Jaron. Jaron's running the control booth. So,
Right.
Jaron, what's in the magic bag of questions? Oh, well, so much for giving this to you.
All right, David, this question is clearly for you. David,
Okay.
you've coached a lot of people and worked with a lot of firms, some of which have probably done better than others. Based on that, what would you say are the keys to success or the key derailers, especially when it comes to business development? And this question is from Dave. Thank you, Dave, and good morning, Philippe.
Good morning, Philippe. And thank you, Dave, for the question. All right. So, what are keys to success? What are derailers? Look at that. Isn't Shankar nice welcoming you back?
Thank you.
So, I would say there are a couple things. Yeah, more than anything, really, it boils down to impact. So, if you want to know what is the most common challenge we see and what enables firms to succeed, especially in business development, its impact. And if you want to dive in beneath that a little bit, I would typically say the most important thing is product market fit. Okay, this is a really simple business. Not easy, but it's really simple. So if you have an offering, if you are addressing an issue that a lot of your prospects urgently want to solve, it's kind of easy to win business. If you're trying to go to market with something that folks aren't like, oh yeah, that's something I really need right now, it's harder. So that's first thing is product market fit. And then I would say the second thing is your ability to get into conversations, because conversations
Right.
is where you find opportunities and you win projects.
Right.
So product market fit and ability to get into conversations. That's my initial instincts. What do you think, Marie Isabel?
I completely agree with you. And I want to note that you said conversations. You didn't say sales meetings,
Right.
right? So it's really about connecting and about conversations. I am wondering, David, you mentioned product market fit.
Yep.
If we could do a real life situation
Okay.
for a minute, because I'm sure folks are saying, okay, got it. Conceptually, I follow you, product market fit, but how does that look like, right? So, what happens is if, say, I'm in digital transformation and I'm focused in the chocolate chip industry, um,
Okay.
how do I go about defining product market fit? How do I go about looking for it?
Well, so digital transformation, I'm not sure it necessarily means a lot, or it means different things to different people. So, Marisabel, first thing I'm gonna ask you is, what do you mean by digital transformation? And describe it to me in terms of symptoms. Like, what are the
Mhm.
symptoms you're alleviating, or aspirations? What are the aspirations that your clients are trying to achieve? So, okay, so I'll put you back on the spot. So you're
So
the
for this,
okay.
I have talked to a lot of people, right? That's how I can answer your question about symptoms because I'm in a lot of conversations. And things I keep hearing are we have new tools to do business that promise efficiency, but our teams are not adapting them or adopting them in a way that actually makes their work more efficient.
Okay.
Say that's one big headline that I keep hearing. Another big headline I keep hearing is there's the promise that we don't need as many team members across all the client organizations to do work, but people don't quite know kind of where do they need more people and less people and how qualified should they be. Does
Okay.
that help?
Yeah, got it. So you're focused on chocolate chip industry. So good on you. You're already ahead of the game because you have industry focus plus the right industry.
It's chocolate, of course.
Exactly. And of the two problems that you described, the one I would suggest you look into first is actually the first one, where it's, we have these tools, I think you said, but like people aren't applying them. Yeah.
Or don't know how to go about making their work easier for them by applying.
And
Right.
the second one was more around cost reduction. It sounded like, right? How do we remove people? And in today's environment, in some ways that might be more urgent, but there's actually tends to be less of a play there, and there's less margin in cost reduction, believe it or not. So let's just see. So I would say, see whether the first one has legs. You told me you're having a lot of conversations. So from your conversations, are people spending money to get from we have digital tools to people are using their digital tools to determine how to make their roles more efficient? And if you don't know the answer to that, ask them.
Right.
So it's pretty simple. I mean, finding product market fit is what you've done, is be in conversation and find out exactly what the challenges are.
Right. And asking questions, and let me get out of role play for a second. What you're saying is ask questions that tie an aspiration or a problem, right? Which is what I mentioned to you first.
Right.
To, are people actually willing to invest in solving the problem?
That's exactly right.
How painful is it? And how much of a priority is it?
And ideally, have they invested already? Now, something like digital transformation, there are times when people have not invested because it's new. I think our bias is go
ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say our bias is you want to chase after something that people have already spent money, because where they've spent money before, they're likely to spend money again. As odd as it seems, you want to go after problems they've already solved because they haven't solved them.
Right. So, Tony, thank you. You're chiming in because this is your space, right? So those are exactly the right type of insights, knowing, look, people are sitting on top of licenses they don't use, and this is too complicated. So in that case, you figure out, is there a space? Is there a want? And the want for a solution, is that strong enough that it can drive spend? Or do you, or then do you focus on something else? That's right. The type of thing that defines and empowers success. And notice we didn't talk about, having a very narrow focus, which we know accelerates that success. But to the question of what creates success is that knowing, having that fit, and the connection piece.
Absolutely right. And we'll move on, but you're right. There's other things we didn't mention. It's probably worth calling out that we didn't mention. We didn't say the keys to success are SEO, right? Or having some funnel, or that there's some marketing silver bullet. There's not. The key to success is product market fit, and then getting into conversations. And Marisabel, I think you did a really good job saying, well, yeah, I've gotten the conversations that allowed me to know product market fit. So there you go. That's the answer. All right.
And Tony, you're right. What you allude to is, are you speaking with decision makers or not? And who controls, right? Who's the decision maker, depending on where you focus. All right. I'd like to move on to the next question that was submitted at the risk of diving in for 15 minutes today.
All right. And if people have questions, please submit them. Michael, hello, by the way, and John, hello, by the way. All right. Then Marisabel, then you didn't get the first one, so you get this one. What's the best way to frame a conversation when we need to improve how we're doing things with a client? Really, how they're doing things with us. Okay. So it's not how we're doing things, how they're doing things. They constantly change things 2 weeks before a deadline. That results in our team having to work longer hours than the client, and working weekends, which they're not happy about.
Right, of course. No surprises, right? That you're not happy if you get last minute changes with a client. So my suggestion is take a moment that it's separate from your delivery work, or carve it out of your delivery work with your top folks that you're working with. And how would we call a retrospective? So you're basically having a conversation, a learning conversation with 3 questions. What is working well in the engagement, right? In the way you work together, in the way you interact, in the way both you and your client are delivering value and are executing around that value. What is not working well, and this allows you to be objective, and you put, look, last minute changes, our team is having to catch up on this last minute changes on weekends and nights, which your client should have visibility of. And your client will shortly add elements to their what's not working well answer. And then looking at what's working well and what's not working well, what systemic changes do both of you or each of you put in place going forward so that your client gets more value out of the project and you gain efficiency in the way you deliver that value. Okay. So it's basically a feedback conversation in a broader context that allows you also to leverage what's working well already. David, what do you think?
So I want to ask you about this. So let's say I'm your client, right? And so I keep giving you changes, and the changes are like 2 weeks before things are due, which causes all sorts of pain and causes me pain also. So you're saying you want to hold a separate meeting with me?
I want to hold a separate meeting with you, David, at this point in our engagement. Let's say you're the client, right? The way I would frame it is, we've been working together for the past 8 weeks or 6 months, 8 months. I think it merits, let's have a discussion, carve out some time, half an hour, and have a focused conversation in how can we make the engagement work better for you and for everybody involved, and how can we deliver more value for you?
Okay. So let's say now we're in this discussion. Okay.
Right.
And what are you going to ask? Like what and how would you phrase it?
I would phrase it, let's look at our engagement. Let's think at how the project has been evolving, the results we've had, or the deliverables we've had, the interactions with people on the team, and the interactions between your team and our team. What is working well?
Okay. So let's say I mentioned some things that are working well. And then you said you were going to also say what's not working well.
Right. Let's flip that coin.
And
what's not working well?
And I say, well, I think some of the stuff has been, caused me to work weekends, and I don't really like that. But I'm not going to say anything that takes any responsibility. So
Fair.
What do you say to get me to take responsibility?
So let's double click on that. Some of the stuff has caused you to work weekends. Got it. Let's backtrack to that. What happened that triggered you working weekends? And then in conversation,
by the time you got this stuff around to me, it caused there was all this work had to be done in order to meet the deadline.
Fair. So how can we anticipate this and not be caught at the last minute? Do we need to align earlier on? Do we need to stick on the on the priorities that we had set for ourselves? Do we need to reassess when we're making a change and why we're making it? And connect it back to value. And that's the systemic changes, right? How do we make it so that we're not in this situation constantly? I would also say, look, you're not happy with it. My team is not happy with it. Nobody's happy with it. So it's clearly both client and consultant benefit from changing this dynamic going forward. What needs to, what's the lever that we're going to either be pulling or tweaking to try and break this pattern?
Okay.
Feel free to push back.
Yeah, no. So, I think that works. I think it's a good process. We have found the retrospective process works really well. I have a question for the group assembled here that's live, and also if you're listening to this on replay, because Maria Isabel and I only hit 2 questions today, and that's in part because we went a little bit deeper and we did a little bit of role play. And my question to you is that better? Does that work better for you, or would you rather us hit more questions in less depth? So let me know. Let Maria Isabel know. Post in the chat.
Right.
And now we're out of time.
Right.
So-
And if you're watching out in the replay, just let us know as well.
Yep.
Right.
And we appreciate you spending 15 minutes with us. A couple quick notes before you go. If you haven't done it already, please add Monday, davidafeels.com Monday Live, which Jaron put on the screen somewhere there, to your calendar. So you're back here every week with us and you don't need a reminder. If you don't happen to get the weekly articles, please subscribe. davidafeels.com/subscribe will put you on our list. There it is. Thank you, Jaron. One thing that Jaron won't have a note for, if you happen to run a 7-figure consulting practice, there's a group of us that meet in Florida in January. You could look up Boutique Consulting Forum or just reach out to Maria Isabel and myself. It's really awesome. It's a great group. And that's it. Thanks for being here. Hope you have a fabulous week. I hope you always keep in mind that consulting is not about you. It's about them. It's about your clients and prospects. And so give them value and give them kindness. And we will see you next week.
Ciao. Thank you.